You want to talk about embarrassing? Let's talk about what we just witnessed on Monday Night Raw. Jey Uso, the so-called main event. Jey Uso just had a complete and utter breakdown after losing to LA Knight. And honestly, it was pathetic. This is the same man who spent months telling us he's his own person, that he doesn't need the bloodline, that he's finally standing on his own 2 feet. Well, congratulations Jey, because you just showed the entire world exactly what happens when you try to fly solo. You crash and burn spectacularly. Let me ask you something, drop your answer in the comments right now. Do you think Jey Uso can ever be a legitimate main eventer without Roman Reigns carrying him? Because after what we saw on Raw, I'm starting to think the answer is a hard no. Listen, I get it. Losing sucks. Nobody likes taking an L, especially to someone as cocky as LA Knight. But what you did after that match, that wasn't the reaction of a confident superstar who's secure in his abilities. That was the reaction of someone who's been exposed, someone who knows deep down that maybe, just maybe, he's been living off borrowed credibility this entire time. The match itself, honestly, it was solid. LA Knight came out there with that signature swagger, talking his trash, getting the crowd absolutely electric with those "yeah" chants echoing throughout the arena. And Jey brought his intensity like he always does. These two have chemistry, nobody can deny that. The action was back and forth, hard-hitting, exactly what you want from a Monday Night Raw main event scene clash. But here's where things get interesting. LA Knight hit the BFT blunt force trauma for those keeping score at home, and got the 1, 2, 3. Clean. No controversy, no shenanigans. Just a decisive victory for the megastar over main event Jey Uso. And that's when everything fell apart. The moment that bell rang, you could see it in Jey's eyes. That look wasn't frustration. It wasn't determination to come back stronger. It was something else entirely. It was panic. It was the look of a man who just realized he might not be who he thought he was. Question for the comments: what was going through Jey's head at that exact moment? Was it anger, fear, or something else? Jey didn't just accept the loss and walk away. No. He absolutely lost it. We're talking full-on meltdown mode. He started throwing a fit in the ring, shoving the referee, screaming at the announce table, kicking the ring steps, the whole 9 yards. This wasn't passion. This wasn't fire. This was a man having an identity crisis in front of millions of people. And you know what the saddest part is? The crowd didn't know how to react. Half of them were still riding the high of LA Knight's victory, chanting "yeah" and celebrating with their megastar. The other half were watching Jey's breakdown with this uncomfortable silence, like they were watching someone they used to respect completely lose their composure and dignity. Let's talk about what this really means, because this goes so much deeper than just one loss on one episode of Raw. This is about Jey Uso's entire identity as a singles competitor. Ever since he broke away from the bloodline, or got kicked out, depending on how you want to frame it, Jey has been on this journey of self-discovery. He's been trying to prove that he's not just Roman's cousin, not just one half of a legendary tag team, but a legitimate singles star who can hang with the best of them. And for a while, it looked like he might actually pull it off. He had some big moments, some impressive victories, and the crowd genuinely got behind him with those "you" chants. But here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud: Jey Uso has been living off the shine of the bloodline story this entire time. Think about it. Every bit of credibility Jey has as a singles competitor came from his association with the most dominant faction in WWE history. His biggest moments? They all happened while he was tangled up in Roman's world. His most emotional reactions from the crowd? They all came from the family drama, the betrayals, the reunions, the splits. Without that context, without that storyline carrying him, what is Jey Uso really? Drop a comment. Is Jey Uso legitimately a main event talent, or has he been riding the bloodline's coattails this whole time? LA Knight, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. This is a man who built himself from the ground up. He didn't have a famous family to lean on. He didn't have Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman giving him automatic credibility. He grinded in the independent scene, he made himself a star in NXT, and when WWE finally gave him the ball, he ran with it like his life depended on it. LA Knight is self-made, and that victory over Jey Uso just proved that authentic star power will always shine brighter than reflected glory. And the way Knight handled the aftermath? Chef's kiss. While Jey was out there having his temper tantrum, LA Knight was soaking in the moment, basking in the adoration of the crowd, proving exactly why he's called the megastar. He didn't need to gloat excessively, he didn't need to rub it in. His confidence is so natural, so genuine, that the victory spoke for itself. But let's get back to Jey's meltdown, because this is where things got really uncomfortable. As Jey was losing his mind at ringside, you could almost see the wheels turning in his head. You could see him questioning everything: his decision to leave the bloodline, his ability to make it on his own, his future in WWE. And that's when the crash-out reached its peak. Reports are saying that Jey had to be physically restrained by WWE officials backstage. He was reportedly shouting, slamming locker room doors, and just completely spiraling. This isn't the behavior of a confident main event player. This is the behavior of someone who's drowning and doesn't know how to save themselves. And here's what's really going to twist the knife: Jey Uso is over on SmackDown, seemingly doing just fine without his twin brother. The bloodline story is continuing to evolve on the blue brand, and Jey is on Raw, alone, having public breakdowns after losses to guys who are actually building themselves without family backup. Question time: should Jey swallow his pride and go back to the bloodline, or does that prove everyone right about him? The parallel here is fascinating and tragic. Jey stayed loyal, stuck with the family, and while the road has been rocky, is still part of something bigger than himself. Jey chose independence, chose to forge his own path, and is discovering that the path is a lot harder when you're walking it alone without the safety net of the bloodline's protection and prestige. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Some of you in the comments are going to say I'm being too harsh on Jey. You're going to say he's having a human moment, that losing hurts, that he's just showing emotion. And you know what? You might have a point. But here's the thing: this isn't an isolated incident. This is part of a pattern. Since going solo, Jey has been inconsistent at best. He'll have a good showing one week, then disappear the next. He'll cut a passionate promo about standing on his own, then immediately look lost without someone to play off of. He needs the drama, he needs the conflict with family members, because without that, he's just another guy on the roster. LA Knight exposed that on Monday Night Raw. He didn't just beat Jey Uso, he revealed him. He pulled back the curtain and showed everyone that when you strip away the bloodline storyline, when you remove the emotional family baggage, Jey Uso is just not on that elite level. And Jey's reaction proved it. The crash out, the meltdown, the complete loss of composure. That's not what champions do. That's not what main eventers do. Stone Cold Steve Austin took losses and came back meaner. The Rock took losses and came back with more charisma. John Cena took losses and came back with more determination. They didn't throw tantrums like a child who got their toy taken away. Final question for the comments: what does Jey Uso need to do to prove he belongs in the main event picture as a singles competitor? Here's what happens next, and it's going to be fascinating to watch. Jey has two choices. Option 1, he gets his head right, learns from this loss, and actually puts in the work to become the singles star he claims to be. That means no more relying on family drama for his storylines. That means no more using the bloodline as a crutch when things get tough. That means actually developing his character beyond Roman's cousin who left the family. Option 2, he spirals further. He continues having these crash outs. He becomes known as that guy who couldn't make it on his own. And eventually, maybe sooner than later, he goes crawling back to Roman or Jimmy or whoever's willing to take him back, proving every single doubter right. The ball is in Jey's court, but based on what we saw Monday night, I'm not confident he knows what to do with it. LA Knight just handed him a reality check that bounced harder than those ring steps Jey was kicking around. The megastar proved he's the real deal, while main event Jey Uso proved he might need to rethink that nickname. So Wrestling Zone fam, I want to hear from you. Blow up that comment section. Tell me if you think Jey can recover from this, or if this is the beginning of the end for his singles run. Share this video with everyone who needs to see the truth about what happened on Raw. And most importantly, let me know, are you Team Knight or Team Uso after this absolute disaster of a night? This is Wrestling Zone, and we just witnessed a man's confidence shatter in real time.